from Mediaite. The Democrats' response to Trump's tariffs. It's recession day. Hakeem Jeffries hammers Donald Trump's liberation day. Warns economy about to crater. Really? He says, we were told that grocery costs were going to be going down on day one of Trump's presidency. Costs aren't going down in America. They're going up. It's actually not true. A lot of things have gone down. And the Trump tariffs are going to make things more costly in the United States. House Republicans, Senate Republicans, and Donald Trump haven't done a thing to lower the cost of living in this country. Not a single bill, not a single executive order, blah, blah, blah. That's technically incorrect, but I just want to pull up because, you mentioned, Mark, Fred. Here's the M1 money stock. Take a look at 2020. So this was during Trump's term. And then take a look at the money supply. So this was largely due, this spike, when they basically said savings accounts are now checking accounts. The money supply exploded. Meanwhile, economic activity collapsed. So this is the COVID era. If you want to talk about what Democrats had been doing over the past 4 years, fine. But they've got no leg to stand on right now, as Donald Trump is making moves only 2 months in, and they had 4 years and only expanded and exacerbated the problem.
The Doge thing, I mean, that's the Trump's big attempt at writing the American economy is Doge. And it's like if you don't want to see that, if you're not interested in believing that that's possible, that's a form of cognitive dissonance. It really is an attempt to stabilize our deficit to zero, ideally. Maybe it's 2 trillion, it'll be 1 trillion next year, and then maybe we can get it down that we're actually that our debt is going down. That might be possible. That's the biggest plan, is that reduction in corruptive spending. Other stuff, I don't know if Jeffries has pointed out, he hasn't made any big moves with making car manufacturing cheaper or whatever. It's just a more holistic, I think, approach he's taking right now.
Let me just say, to the point, Democrats opened up the borders. The country was flooded with low-skilled labor that not only was displacing people's jobs, they started using tax funds to supply these people with resources Americans did not have. This strained the economic system, reduced the Americans' buying power, because I know the challenge with these issues is that, as we already discussed, most Americans don't know what tariffs are. So most people don't understand that if you have, let's say that you have a small town with only $100, that's it. So all there is, $100. That means your economic activity and the value of those dollars is tied to that finite, scarce number. If someone comes in and adds another 100, you do not double your corn or your homes. You actually just increase the amount of trade units, which makes the buying power of the other people cut in half. When they start giving illegal immigrants free housing and government money, what happens to you at home is that your milk prices go up, your egg prices go up, demand for these things go up, but the volume of them does not change, so the prices start rising. This is what Democrats did to you over the past 4 years. Trump's been in for 2 months, and they won't shut up. And they're acting like, you know what I love about Hakeem Jeffries' statement? He said, prices were going up and Trump didn't do anything about it. It's like, oh, wow, geez. So the prices went up under your watch.
Yeah.
They're up because of you. And it's like, imagine a guy punches you in the face, and then when you call the cops and the cops are walking up the door, it's like, look, that cop hasn't done anything yet. How come you're bleeding from the nose? And it's like, because you punched me, dude. That's Democrats.
Well, that's typical politics. The left is always, the Democrats, the party out of power are always going to blame the party in power for whatever negative thing is happening, no matter how long it's been. Like, as soon as when Trump was saying on day one these things are going to happen, and on day two they were like, look, Trump's a failure already. He said this was going to happen, etc. And you kind of expect that when it comes to the political arena, but it doesn't change the fact that the Democrats have done nothing at all to provide for any of the things that Trump is trying to, address here. And furthermore, they're the party that has forever said they are the party of the working class. They are the party of unions. They are the party of this, the party of that. The reason that unions got behind Trump is because they believe these things will be good for the working class in America.
So I really think there's only one thing that could slow down the President Trump administration, and that's if he hits on a a recession, obviously. Allegedly, you're not even supposed to say the word because it'll encourage recession to happen. But there's a lot of mitigating circumstances right now that tariffs might add to a more turbulent situation. So, for example, in the Red Sea, world trade is being interrupted right now by the Houthis. We have our stock market that's extremely overvalued right now, particularly the Magnificent Seven or what have you, are extremely overvalued. Now we're throwing the tariffs on top of this. When a time we're seeing geopolitical conflict around the world, I think if a recession starts happening is what could get people to turn on Trump and prevent him from accomplishing these other things. So I just really hope he knows what he's doing with these tariffs. And I hope to see these actually be rescinded in a few months when these other countries take back their tariffs. I think that'll calm down the market a lot and we won't fall into something like that. But again, there's a lot of mitigating circumstances right now that could push our economy into the gutter. And that's never good for anybody in office.
I think we're reaching the extent of the professional class's ability to define things the way they want them to be defined. Because I can tell you, he's been talking about tariffs for a long time. The stock market's been going up and down a long time. I think these numbers were framed late last week. How do you rate President Trump on the issue of the economy? 30% excellent, 18% good. I think it was only 33% poor. So that's really great marks. That's higher.
I guess what scared me, you heard about the auto tariff tax. So I guess if you're going to be buying a car in the near future, you're going to be hit with what, a 10, 15 percent price.
Well, I'm just saying it's not affecting his numbers. And I think what people have invested in is a major economic rebalancing that's going to break some eggs. Like if Elon is cutting $1 trillion out of the deficit, that's like 3.6% of GDP. So you can't not have a recession if he's going to fulfill his mission. And then on top of that, listen, it's just the stock market doesn't define the economy anymore. And
the stock market really doesn't hit the middle class and working people because most people that have stocks are, upper to.
I think most people don't actually, I forgot what the numbers were. Most people don't actually have much or if anything above like $10,000 in savings.
And
I think it's
when
indicative
the market's, the trading at like 26 times earnings is what it's been trading at. It needs a correction.
Yeah.
This is something that a healthy market will do. Historically, it's something like 16 times earnings or something like that.
A bunch of companies need to go bankrupt.
Yeah.
There needs to be more velocity. There needs to be
But that happening under the Trump administration would be horrible.
For the Trump administration,
I
it'd be bad for the economy.
Yeah,
We need a correction.
Would be very bad for Trump.
We need a grand scale universal correction. No more. Here's what I want to stop. I want you all to hear me, please, because I know you agree. No longer do I want to hear stories about a BuzzFeed reporter getting $90,000 a year. No longer do I want to hear about an employed in NGO making $1 million a year doing legal work in Loudoun County, Virginia. I want to hear about pay raises for firefighters, pay raises for people who work manufacturing jobs. And so the funny thing is, as Mark, you mentioned that Harris voters tend to be, higher income and things like that. The media industry is overwhelmingly liberal. Academia is overwhelmingly liberal. These people wouldn't know what a callus was if you showed them your own hands. They would just think you were deformed, because certainly that's not a real thing that happens to people. I would like to see a grand correction where everything realigns back to those who do hard work are successful in this country. The man who is buying a nice filet mignon with herb butter is a guy who builds things for a living and works hard and earns that reward, not some uppity liberal moron who's never worked a real job in their life. And they're an aide in Congress, or they work for a media publication where their job is to literally complain on camera to millions of people, and they make exorbitant sums of money. Could you imagine someone like that? These kind of people, they're permanent children. They probably wear the same clothes every day.
Just bitch.
They wear
They
beanies
complain,
everywhere they go. They skateboard at 40 years old. The people who are making millions of dollars should be first responders, firefighters, police, servicemen and women. This is the kind of, now that's a grandiose view, but I'll put it simply, and I know there was a joke in there. My point is, when I hear that you've got these liberal journalists at these publications making six figures, and a guy who used to work on an assembly line for auto manufacturing lost his job because they sold the factories to Mexico. I'm like, that guy, he's building cars that we need. He should be feeding his family. He should be having kids. He did everything right. Yet it is the uppity, well-to-do liberal working for a company where they produce nothing of value who is reaping the rewards of this system.
I'll go one step further. It's not the liberal. It's the person with absolutely no moral rudder who's willing to suck up to a game and a system in order to get ahead without considering the moral ramifications. This is what people signed up for with Trump. And I'll tell you, just the mass deportation plan, massively deflationary. That's what he's going after. That's baked into his platform. And that's one of the best things that you can do to get those people increased wages. And guess what? It's not going to happen. So I'm calling on Congress today, Republicans, give us a vote on E-Verify. Let's get E-Verify. It's overwhelmingly popular. The number's 60 to 70% every time we ask. It could go a long way to self-deportations. We don't have to have Tom Homan bust all these people's doors down. We can have these people leave immediately today. And what I heard from somebody I know, I trust within the Beltway, is that it'll never happen because Republicans love their slave labor.
Yep. Well, the MAGA party seems to be a bit different, though. Maybe we'll see something change with Donald Trump.
Well, I think in Trump's speech even today, he was talking about more legal immigration. I don't know how that plays into this, so never mind on that, actually.
Increased
or
legal
H1Bs.
immigration is also astoundingly unpopular. Numbers below 30% of Democrats want an increased level of legal
Even among Democrats?
Yes.
Really?
You mentioned
Wow,
that that this is a deflationary tactic to remove people, people from the country. And I agree. We're So the difference between deflation and recession, because I feel like we've been in a recession since 2008. It's just that on paper, the number's going up. In reality, the value is going down. So it feels like our value has been receding. And what is it? Now we're doing a controlled burn? This
Deflation means deflation's not not the same thing as a recession.
Deflation literally means you're taking money out of the monetary supply. You're reducing the number of zeros on the book, basically. That's deflation.
I mean, no, the buying power goes down.
And a recession, that's more uncontrolled. That's things are happening out of our control.
A recession is very specifically, I think, 2 consecutive quarters of negative nominal GDP growth.
Yeah.
And if you zap 3.6% of GDP, which is government spending, by removing $1 trillion, you're getting a recession on paper.
And they'll also inflate the value of GDP by having one guy dig a hole and then they'll pay another guy to fill it back up. And they'll be like, look, gross domestic product. That's not real. What do you call the opposite of recession? That's not real progress.
That's not
Productivity.
Yeah, it's not productivity, but even though they'll call it that, so obviously that's been inflated too. Yeah, I think it's time to just accept that we've been in a recession for a long time, and now we're trying to stem the bleeding.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.